You are listening to the very first Pavia podcast with me, Ross. You can find me on Twitter at Pavia Ross, and today I'm joined with Paul, the COO of Pavia. Let's get into it. I am joined here today with the one and only Pavia Paul. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing great. Episode 1. It's a big privilege to be here. How do you feel?
This is exciting. I mean, we've been talking about doing the podcast for some time.
We have.
There's a lot going on, but I'm glad we finally got here. And
Excellent.
how are you, by the way? Welcome to the team.
I'm great.
Pavia Ross in the house.
Indeed, I'm here.
Yeah, 2 weeks in.
Yep.
Yeah, you haven't left yet, so that's a good sign.
No, I do exist. I'm not a robot, so
Good.
Thank God for that.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah,
Good so far.
excellent. Loving every single second of it.
Fantastic.
Absolutely amazing.
Good man.
Paul, let's get straight into it. You
Mhm.
know, tell us a bit about yourself and where you come from to get where you are today.
Okay, right. Well, I'll try and do the background story as quickly as I possibly can. I've been in and around tech most of my career. Started life as a systems engineer in the exciting world of petrochem, which I did for way too long, but I learned a lot. So I've always been involved in technology from day one. But then I kind of got tired of that because the internet was a massive thing, in case you didn't notice. So I started a digital marketing agency, which I ran for quite a period of time. So that was my first startup. So that was amazing. Learned a lot doing that.
I'm sure.
In some very tough periods of time during that time, but it was amazing. Learned a lot. Then I did consulting for a bunch of years in the hosting industry, which was very exciting. Did some very large projects there, which was a sort of natural evolution of me working in web. And then things got super exciting when I took a role in a gaming company. This is 7 or 8 years ago now. They were a specialist game service company. In fact, they were actually best known for live gaming events. And they'd been acquired. They'd already been acquired, and that was the point for me to join. But I wasn't interested in the live events. They had this hosting division which caught my eye. Came in to run that.
Okay.
A lot of it was consumer focused right now, like you know, back then selling servers to like Minecraft servers or CS:GO servers and all that kind of stuff to like, you know, clans and guilds and all this good stuff. But we actually pivoted that business, made it more B2B, and we ended up building out one of the main scaling products for the AAA industry. So the problem we basically solved was scaling games. And the infrastructure and cloud infrastructure, all that good stuff behind it. And then ultimately my division, we carved it out, we sold it again. And that was sold to Unity. So that was super exciting. So I went with the division off to Unity. We did that for a period of time. I was there for 4 years, just an amazing 4 years. I loved every minute of it. High tech growth. You'd see nothing like it. So brilliant company, learned a great deal. But can never resist the itch to get back into startup land.
Absolutely.
So, which is my favorite. I've learned that's my favorite place to be.
And here you are.
Yes. So here I am, bringing whatever I can to the Pavia project.
That's amazing. So you've had a lot of different jobs, you know, within the technology sector and gaming. Mm-hmm. How do you know when it's time to make a move and make a change?
I think this one did not require a crystal ball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty blatantly obvious to anybody who's paying attention that the internet and the web and everything was about to make a radical change. Blockchain's been around for a long time now. Crypto's been around for quite a while, but it's still very nascent. And but it was, let's say, you know, bubbling up and getting frothy. The word, you know, Facebook rebrand as Meta, and you know, which is, you know, a topic for another day. But I mean, there's no question that we're moving towards one of those where the stars aligned and a whole bunch of technology is going to reach maturity.
For sure.
And we don't all quite know what that looks like yet, but it's happening now, and this is the very sort of beginning of that. So
exciting times, definitely. What do you think of when you think of the metaverse? And you know, when it comes to the metaverse, are we talking about, you know, there's going to be one big metaverse, there's going to be several different ones, they're going to be interchangeable? What's your kind of views on that? Okay,
cool. That's like a two-part question. The first one is the definition of the metaverse, and I think I am not going to define the metaverse because frankly it's not defined by anybody. The only definitions are what are in people's heads, and so it's fine to have your own perception of it. But I think to answer that question, what is the metaverse, I think really what you've got to ask is step back a bit and go, well, what is Web3? For me, that's the most important thing. And you know, the internet goes through these big milestone evolutions. Web 1 was the original internet, which was read only. We're just absorbing information. Web 2 was the read-write internet, as you well know. So all of a sudden, hey, we can publish our own stuff. We could tweet. We can put stuff on YouTube. We can write blogs. We can put our own content out there and have it exist and live on the internet. And Web 3 is building upon that, but it now brings ownership. So what blockchain brings, and my favorite definition for all this is, what would it be like if you could actually own a part of the internet, contractually own it? And that's what this next stage brings, which is super, super exciting, because there's so much that comes with that decentralization or autonomous organizations and all the good stuff. So very, very exciting. It's 100% going to happen. It's happening. It's happened. So there's no going back from this point. But this part of the journey is the exciting bit, because you get to see where it's going to go.
Crazy. That's wow. Yeah. I mean, you can't really define it, can you? And it's forever growing and forever evolving.
You said, is there going to be one metaverse?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let's certainly hope not. Well, no. I mean, sorry. Let me rephrase that. There will be one metaverse in terms of it's just the next evolution of the internet. But will there be one closed wall experience to rule all? I certainly hope not.
You feel like diversity is
quite key. 100%. I mean, imagine the internet if it only had one website. That would be a pretty depressing place to be. But it's not. The internet is the internet. That is a single thing. But within it is millions of different websites and different applications and different experiences. Web 3 is going to be exactly the same. And the metaverse as a term will encompass multitude of immersive experiences, of which Pavia will be one.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
So on the topic of Pavia, we've got this, very young in its early stages.
Yep.
What kind of stage are you at now with the experience? Where are you kind of sitting?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it's been an exciting few months. Obviously, we've just completed the final land sale in February. So there were 3 land sales in total. As you all well know, we've sold 100,000 plots of land. That is entirely done now, which is super exciting. We've just been bowled over by the response and the enthusiasm and the excitement around the project. It's just amazing. I mean, every land sale I think was sold out in less than 30 minutes, and the last one was no exception to that. And in fact, it was 13 times oversubscribed. Wow. So the appetite is really there for this project. Which is just amazing. So that's where we are in terms of that side of things. But now, of course, we're doubling down on the build. I would say in sort of game development parlance, we're in pre-production and prototyping phase right now. So a project like this is not an insignificant undertaking. Whilst we're not building like an MMO or anything like that, I wouldn't call it like that from a gaming experience, but the foundational technology is a lot like it. So first of all, we have an enormous map. Huge.
I mean, 100,000's not.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. So instantly, right, we're into procedural generation of an environment and stuff like that. So that's a lot of the prototyping that's going on right now. It's obviously multiplayer. And for anybody who hasn't been exposed to multiplayer a lot, they know this is a complicated thing to do. I'm fortunate that I've been in and around it for quite some time, so it's not too scary, but it needs to be done.
Sure.
And of course, with multiplayer, it brings voice, and it brings text, and it brings toxicity challenges, and it brings all that stuff. So all of these are foundational building blocks that need to be put in place. And what we're trying to do right now is actually, and scale, of course, as well. That's another part of it. But we're just ticking off some of these gnarly challenges up front to make sure they're in the bag, and to go, we're confident that that's not actually as scary as you thought. That's done, and that's done. And then in parallel with that, we're actually doing the more creative side of it, which is the design of the main mechanics for the experience, the design of the economics, and all that good stuff. And that's running in parallel as well. But I would definitely say we're in pre-production prototyping right now.
Right.
Once we come out of that phase, then we'll be into main build.
So it's a huge thing. This isn't something that's going to get built in, a couple of months. There's a lot of technical elements that go into it.
Yep.
And they're constantly being developed and changed, and listening to the community, and it's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a massive undertaking, but 100% doable. And what we're not going to do, one of the beautiful things about having the community on side from day one is they're there every step of the way with you. So that's wonderful, because you get to feed off their enthusiasm. You get to see a lot of the great ideas they suggest as well. Not that we can do them all, but we're always listening. And there's some stuff that we'll be able to adopt for sure as we go through. That's one of the real pros of this. The other thing it brings as well, though, is that we cannot bury ourselves away for 2-3 years and re-emerge and go, da-da, and it's here. Number of reasons for that. Number one, this space is moving way too fast.
Indeed.
Secondly, I'm a big fan of sort of agile development and iterating. So iterating with our internal teams, but also to an extent iterating with the community as well. This is not a new concept. Early access has been around with games for a long time.
Absolutely, it has, yeah.
So we will be definitely ideally taking that kind of approach. So we hope to be more modular in the way we roll things out. So I'm really I'm always looking for opportunities for, can we build something and put it in the hands of the community to gather feedback? It might not be the full experience yet, but it will be something of use, something they can do with something to keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as long as that doesn't mean we do things in entirely the wrong order, then I'm totally fine with it. So you can definitely see that more agile approach to the way we build this out, as opposed to not hearing from us for a year or two and then reappearing with the final product.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when we'll go quiet. We have to. We just got to get our heads down. You know?
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be the approach as much as we can, because the community were there on day one supporting us, and I want to be able to involve them wherever we can along the journey.
Absolutely. And I think it's safe to say, and you can agree, that we owe a lot to this community.
Yep.
You know, funding the project and helping it grow consistently, and they definitely play a big part, don't they?
100%. I mean, you know, there's and it's a big reason why we did, you know, like the token drop for the first 2 land sales. I mean, we just constantly want to say thank you to the community for you know, their trust in this project.
That's great.
And whilst this is starting to feel rather the norm in the worlds of NFTs and so on and so forth, it's 100% not the norm in the world of normal business. You know, I mean, I guess it isn't if you compare it to the likes of Kickstarter and stuff like that. So crowdfunding projects is not a new thing.
Yeah.
But the technology behind it, and you know, in our particular case, the sale of virtual land and all the rest of it is different again. So what it does mean is you run the project in a slightly different way. But I love that, and I'm totally cool with that, and we're accountable to make sure that we deliver good stuff.
Absolutely, and that's what we thrive off as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of the community, I think one of the most asked questions, especially around land, is that if people own more than one land parcel, are they going to be able to merge that? You know, if they've got multiple or estates, what's going to happen to that kind of room in between?
Gotcha. Actually, if I may, I'll back up a little bit, because there's a couple of other questions the community often asks which are related to this.
I'll allow that.
Thank you very much. So first and foremost, you know, the land is there to do a multitude of things with, but the obvious thing is to build something. How are we going to build stuff? And, you know, the early conception idea, and it will be one of many, by the way, but we want to bring creator tools to the community as much as we can, and they will grow over time, get better over time, evolve into newer and fresher things. But day one, the ability to be able to build a model yourself offline, you know, with Blender or whatever you do, a 3D model, and import it and publish it to your land is table stakes. That's where we'll start. So we call these Pavia compatible assets, was the term that was coined around that. And we have recently, with the help of the community, by the way, we set up this amazing working group in Discord from the really enthusiastic 3D modelers who have just helped us enormously by unbelievably contributing their ideas, letting us like take a look at what they've built. And the output of that really is just I think we're on version 1.1, which is effectively a guideline, which is a document, which outlines, okay, if you've got a single plot of land, 16 by 16, this is the amount of meshes you can use, this is the amount of triangles you can use, this is the amount of materials, textures you can use, this is the overall file size, this is as high as you can build, and so on. And as long as you stick within those initial set of guidelines, we are confident that a model like that is going to work in, you know, Pavia once it's fully built out. They can look like they're a little constraining, but there's a whole bunch of considerations around this. First of all, once you know what you're doing and how you know how to, you know, combine meshes and combine objects and stuff like that, you can actually take some really smart looking stuff and then just adapt it to meet those guidelines, and boom, you're good to go. And there's loads of community members that have produced amazing stuff. The other thing to think about as well is this is user generated content that's going to be hosted in the cloud. So as much as we'd love fully high res, high poly, you know, beautifully baked assets, you know, you're not going to start moving like, you know, I don't know, 250 meg file around for every plot of land. It's just not going to happen, or more. So a lot of this stuff is figuring out, and we're also exploring like compression technology in the background and stuff that we can do to apply to these things as well. So anyway, the point about that I want to make is the PCA first version of the guidelines is out. If you go, there is a channel specifically in Discord for this. So if you're interested in modeling and getting ahead of the curve and creating your first pass of what you might think you want to put on your land, go to that channel in the Discord.
Please
the
check it out.
is there.
Absolutely,
check it out, download it, ask questions to the group, and model around those. So that's the first thing. Now to your question though, the second question, which comes up a lot, I know, which is if you've got more than one plot of land and they're adjoining in some way, maybe it's just two plots that are adjoining together, not adjoining by the corner, by the way, but obviously by the flat edge, or maybe you've got an estate, you're fortunate to have 3x3, you know, what happens? Well, question number one, is there pathways or roads in between these plots of land? And the second one is, if there is, what happens to them if we have two adjoining plots? Right, okay. This comes up a lot. The answer I'm going to give is we don't know yet, but and we are deliberately taking our time over this. So there's good reason for it, by the way. We're working hard on the environment right now and procedurally generating that environment. And within that prototyping, there's a lot of potentially really exciting things that we could do. And it will be easy just to say, oh, you just adopt the land that's in between. But actually, there might be some really beautiful things we could do if we just move the plots together and reclaim some land and create some variety and shape and all the rest of it in the environment.
Yeah.
So none of this is set in stone. We definitely haven't got the answer for it right now. So that's why we can't answer the community. I think the safest thing to do, if you want to build a PCA that goes across more than one adjoining land, then assume that a 16 by 16 and a 16 by 16 makes 32 by 16, and build for that scale. And then, hey, you never know, you might end up with a bit more room once the thing's totally built out. So that's the best guidance I can give at this stage until we get all this figured out.
Okay, so when we're talking about everything that's going on in Pavia, what are the platforms that you're trying to address straight away? Oh,
in terms of platform, so initially we will be targeting desktop, so PC, Mac. So this will be a downloadable experience that you run locally. It's not browser based as the primary target. It's definitely downloadable,
right? Which is a good thing.
Well, there's pros and cons to all these decisions. One of the beautiful things about browser based games is there's literally zero friction to get into it because everybody spends their life in a browser these days. One of the big downsides of the browser is the browser just doesn't have access to the resources of your computer like a full-blown application does. And you're really limited to what you could do. So our plan is, we're building on Unity. It will be a downloadable application that you run on PC and Mac. But it will have some companion stuff that exists in the browser.
Okay.
Which will be smaller, more lightweight things, but it will be a way of like helping with the social side of things of the Pavia experience, being able to share stuff with friends, that kind of thing is the plan. And in fact, we kind of already have that weirdly now already, because we have the map, and the map actually has some authorization. You can log in, you can create an account, you can add your Discord, add your Twitter. If you're a landowner, you can message into parcel messaging, and that has been used enormously as well. You can put your avatar on your land. So it's basic stuff, but the adoption of it is phenomenal.
It's huge.
And that's all running in the browser. So that's I guess that's an early signal that actually keeping some form of browser component to the experience is important. So I'm really, really keen to do that, because obviously downloading the application is something you have to do. I'm 100% confident that a downloadable application will provide a much richer experience. So we're definitely going down that route.
You have managed to answer a lot of questions and avoid questions, but I guess my last one is, I'm sure there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the following year. Anything you can tell us about?
Ooh, you're trying to get me to leak stuff.
I'm trying to get you to leak stuff.
Do you know what? I mean, I would say, well, yes, that 100% there's a hell of a lot of exciting stuff to come.
Good.
Because there is so many different things on the table right now, I'm not going to commit to any one thing. But what I can tell you, though, is we are working very hard to explore all avenues in terms of the project acceleration, in terms of the people that we get involved. So we're very fortunate. So we have an in-house team, which is amazing. We also have an element of freelancers and contractors that work on this project as well. Some of those are highly specialized people from the games industry, be it around multiplayer, networking, procedural stuff.
That's huge.
So, and we're continuing to grow that element of the team as well as the in-house team as well. And we're looking closely at advisor board as well. So we can have people, who ensure that we stay on track and offer their guidance and their counsel there. So that's very, very exciting.
Great stability,
So yeah. I mean, what we're not doing is going. We are hiring for sure, but we're not going hire. What we're doing is we're trying to stay lean where it makes sense to, and bring in the big guns where it makes sense to.
It needs to.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and I'm confident that there's going to be some exciting things that come off the back of that.
So it's a new project,
Mm-hmm.
forever growing,
Mm-hmm.
forever evolving,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of exciting stuff to come.
A lot of exciting stuff to come for sure.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here first. Just to finish off with, we are going to do the Pavia 10 quick questions for Paul to answer as quick as he can. Paul, are you ready?
I guess I am. Go on then.
Okay, here we go. First game you ever played?
That would, oh my God, I'm going to show my age here now. Well, obviously, apart from like Space Invaders on an arcade, owned game would probably be a game called Grid Runner on a Commodore. On a Commodore VIC-20.
Okay.
If anybody watching this knows what that is, I know how old you are.
Amazing.
Yes, but an amazing game.
Something off your bucket list?
Something off my bucket list. I'm passionate about music and music production. I've always loved the idea of being able to score like a film or a drama.
Wow,
or something like
score
that.
to a film.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What is your favourite film?
Embarrassingly, I think it's probably Jerry Maguire. I don't know why. I just love it.
Amazing. Okay, Garden Gnomes. Love them or hate them?
That's definitely probably a hate. Strong word, hate, but yeah, I'll go there.
You win the lottery tomorrow. What's the first thing you're buying?
A holiday for sure.
Holiday.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Do you believe in ghosts?
No. I would say no.
What type of animal do you think you're most like?
What type of animal am I most like? A dog with a bone.
A dog with a bone. Okay. I'm not going to read into that one too much. What actor would play you in a film about yourself?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Probably.
Swimming or running?
I am terrible at both of those things. But I'd have to pick running, I guess.
Running, perfect. And just lastly, if you could pick any superpower, what would you have?
That's a tough one. That's a
you
tough
got to
one.
You got to think hard about this one.
Maybe being invisible.
Invisible.
It would be cool.
Always a safe bet. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been Pavia Paul and Pavia Ross here. If you guys want to get in touch, if you guys want to leave any messages for Paul, for myself, if you've got any questions for the next podcast, please make sure to check out our Discord, our Twitter. Paul, where can everyone find you?
Me on socials. On Twitter, you can find me at Paul Manuel. I've had that account for literally forever, but I haven't tweeted that much, so I'll try and do more, promise. And obviously on LinkedIn, Paul.